Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, as Asher mentioned, my name is Mel. My pronouns are she, her. I'm Jewish, and I teach at UCLA. Next month will actually mark 8 years on the faculty of UCLA. But before these past 8 years, I was a graduate student at UCLA, which is what brought me to my beloved Los Angeles in the first place. So for the past 12 years that I've lived in LA, UCLA has been my home, my community. But my connection to UCLA did not begin just 12 years ago. It actually began nearly 20 years before I was even born, because my parents met and began dating as sophomores at UCLA. They are long since happily divorced. But the fact remains that I literally would not exist were it not for UCLA. And with that, I promise the arithmetic portion of these remarks has concluded. I asked to speak with you this evening as a UCLA faculty member and an alum, and as a member of the larger Jewish community, as an If Not Now member and volunteer leader, and as an Angelino. These past several days have been so fraught and heavy for many of us in each of these communities I've just mentioned, and in many more. This deep feeling of home, of community, of connection, of belonging that I described having with UCLA was ruptured this past Sunday, April 28th, when hateful mobs of pro-Israel agitators from outside of the campus community descended on Royce Quad to threaten student protesters in the Solidarity encampment and their supporters. They erected a giant Jumbotron screen aimed at the students in the encampment, blasting brutal, graphic footage of the horrifying October attacks. They yelled violent threats and slurs that were racist, Islamophobic, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, fatphobic, and the list goes on. It was truly horrifying on many levels. This was a large, organized hate mob with the intention of terrorizing our campus community, and this was allowed by university leadership. I went to campus on Sunday and met up with friends, colleagues, and fellow If Not Now volunteers, many of whom are here, to show support for the student encampment. Many of us wore the black JVP shirts that say "Not in Our Name" on the front and "Jews for Ceasefire" on the back. We stood shoulder to shoulder, linking arms to help create a barrier to protect our fellow protesters from this virulent mob. As a queer, gender nonconforming woman, I've experienced plenty of hate throughout my life. I'm pretty tough. But the hate and vitriol we absorbed on Sunday for identifying ourselves as Jews critical of Israel, as Jews who support Palestinian freedom, was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Many Jewish members of this pro-Israel mob were so angered by our presence, specifically, that not only did they curse at us and yell at us that we should be ashamed, that we weren't real Jews, and blow loud air horns in our ears and accuse us of supporting Hamas. But one of the hardest moments for me came when a fellow Jewish woman screamed in my ear, accusing me of wanting to murder her children. In the media and in our politics and among university leadership, I've seen a lot of supposed concern for Jewish safety and performative outrage over anti-Semitism. But I have never felt less safe or more targeted as a Jew than I did on Sunday at the hands of Jewish pro-Israel agitators at my workplace. Of course, as you all know, things only escalated from there. Late Tuesday night, a pro-Israel mob shot fireworks into the student encampment on Royce Quad and sprayed our students with tear gas and other chemical agents. This assault on our students went on for hours before the LAPD showed up. Instead of fully acknowledging the outside violent mob that had physically attacked and traumatized our students, university leadership cited concerns over Jewish safety and declared the student-run protest encampment unlawful, and sent an incredibly militarized LAPD to forcibly clear the encampment, arresting many, many students.
Shame!
I had the privilege of having class with my undergrad juniors only hours after the arrest on Thursday morning. And I asked my students, if they wanted to share how they felt. A Jewish student told me he felt hurt and alienated by Jewish counter-protesters who called him a self-hating Jew for supporting divestment. My international students, some of whom come from countries with suppressive governments, violent political unrest, coups, and wars, feel shocked and scared to witness this violent crackdown on protests in America. I have students of color who feel completely discounted, like their safety and comfort and feelings have not been considered, and like their voices don't count. One of my students was sprayed point blank in the face with tear gas on Tuesday night. All of my students are scared and feel completely abandoned by university leadership. So do I. I asked to speak today because I have some messages to leaders of a few of the communities of which I am a member. To university leadership, do your jobs. Protect students, staff, and faculty. Listen to students. They're the same age and in many cases older than the young Israelis being forced to drop American bombs on Palestinians. Live up to the values you preach. How am I, one of your faculty members, supposed to create an environment for my students to learn? I teach filmmakers. How am I supposed to tell them that their voices matter? Many of my students are from all over the world, from all different backgrounds. Some of my students are Palestinians. How am I supposed to tell them that they belong in this community that's been harmed? Divest.
Yes. Now.
No matter one's specific views on Israel, Palestine, most can agree universities have no business funding weapons manufacturers or other war profiteers. Finally, stop arresting and blaming student protesters for the violence against them that you failed to protect them from. To LA city leadership, to state leadership, to national leadership. If our free speech and right to protest won't be protected, even on a university campus with a Democrat mayor and a Democrat governor under a Democrat president, God help us all. Do your jobs. Stop arresting students. Stop criminalizing free speech and stop passing laws that conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. Stop manipulating my Jewish community's very real history of trauma and using it to feed your war machine. And since it's Shabbat, I've saved the Jewish community for last. To our Jewish community's leadership, to rabbis, to cantors, religious school teachers, lay leadership, our community is in pain. Many are confused, many are afraid. Our intergenerational trauma is triggered. While I've heard many leaders in the Jewish community speak out against anti-Semitism, I haven't heard enough leaders help give our community tools to process all of these scary emotions. We need more of our leaders to teach that just because some of us feel uncomfortable with or even threatened by certain slogans, that doesn't mean that we're in physical danger. We need for more of our leaders to teach that free Palestine in no way means kill Jewish students.
Yes.
Until we can learn this, until we can deal with these emotions, we will continue to see the violence from within our community that we have seen this week. We need to remember that none of us are safe unless all of us are safe, and that our safety is bound up in Palestinian safety, in freedom for all. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.